So this week, going in, looking at XOC. So looking at XOC on the daily, we do have a price target at 59. What's this? At 59.63. So luckily look for continuation potentially this week. And I would look to invalidate that below 55.58. And then as well, looking at the weekly time frame, that's our same price target, ultimately that 59.63 level. And if we were able to ultimately breach that level, we'd likely to see continuation up to 62.48 to probably get that PMG effect past these two next price targets. And then XOY, we did manage to break that trend line last week on the weekly time frame. So ultimately, you would be still looking to target buy side liquidity at 153.46. And then as well on the weekly, we have another price target up to 157.54. Yes, sir.
So taking a look here at XLI on the daily, we saw it last week was crazy. Most of the moves happened overnight, unless if we caught it literally on Friday. On the weekly time frame, we did get that 2 down, 2 up reversal here. So we're looking up towards really 104.18 and getting that continuation. That's the theme really going into this week is, are we going to be seeing that continuation, or are we not going to, and are we going to stay inside or possibly reverse back? If we take a look at XLB on the daily, this is one of the worst gappers that I've seen. Jeezy peasy. If we take a look at the weekly, once again, we got that inside bar. So you got that 2 down, 2 1 2 up. So once again, looking for continuation above 80.70 is going to be your trigger. Really, your target on the week is going to be 84.27. If we do happen to reverse and try to create like a 2-2 reversal back down to sweep this level, 76.82 is going to be your target to take a look at there. XLRE, your real estate ETF, has definitely been doing a lot better after its nice little fall here. This is definitely a sector I'm going to be keeping on watch because it kind of looks like to me that we might have broken a trend line here. Yeah, kind of broken a trend line here. So we're looking at further sweeping essentially sell side liquidity and coming back up here to buy side liquidity. If we take a look at the weekly time frame, you did get that nice outside bar here, followed by a failed 2 down, and then you got the 2 down hammer. Created that 2 up here. We're breaking the trend line as we see here on the weekly, so just keep that in mind. We do see a lot of green volume stepping in, really, with the market on Friday. A lot of green volume stepped in, a lot of buyers stepped in, and hashtag bulls are back was trending on Twitter for the longest period of time. Tech has by far been one of the outperforming sectors of the first quarter. We got a nice 2 up here, gaps throughout the whole entire week. Got the 2 up on the week as well, so you got that 3-2-2 up. The only thing that I would caution here, I'm still brushing up on my ICT. So 151.86, this might be a point of buy side liquidity. So we could see a point of sweeping this and maybe turning back around. And if that were to happen, really, we would be looking at 142.85 to start taking puts. Your call trigger is going to be 151.01. So 151.01 to 151.86, that's something that I'm going to be taking a look at. It also looks like you have a imbalance as well here. It's tiny enough, but we definitely wicked it a couple of times and never have actually closed a body through it. So this definitely might be a hard level of resistance to get through on the week for tech. But taking a look at utilities, on the daily, utilities had a nice continuation up, and that's what we're going to be looking for going into the next week. Is we got the continuation, you got that hammer, previous week, 2 up here. We got our nice little target. Our trigger is going to be here at 67.72, followed by our first PT of 68.01, and kind of going up and filling out these wicks. So overall, like, tech is one of the sectors I'm looking at, along with real estate and XLC. Do you want me to go over my watch list, Zeus? Okay. All right. So for the watch list for this week, I had end phase on my watch list last week, and I was looking forward to the downside, but it didn't do that, and it formed a nice double inside weak pattern here, which is interesting to see. So I'm curious to see if we end up reversing. I have this trend line drawn out from way back, and we do have a squeeze to the upside here. So I'm curious to see if we're going to see end phase break this double inside weak pattern. As a stratter, we know that these double inside weak patterns come with a large move. So that's what I'm going to be looking at. You're going to take your target, your trigger here for end phase on the week. For calls, it's going to be 214.19. Down below is going to be 190.62. To the upside, your immediate first target to be 221.49, which means we're going to have to break this trend line, and that's going to accelerate our move upwards. So you have 230.44 as you're following your next target as well. The thing that also take a look at as well is you have your quarterly candles closing as well. So you have your 2 up, and your 2 down. Someone's got a hot mic. So we got on the quarterly, we have what's called a Randy Jackson setup, and we were creating a nice hammer here. It looks like we created equal lows and swept sell side liquidity too. So we might be seeing a nice. Oh, yeah. Which one? This one? Oh, yeah, oh, okay. Yeah, that's right, because you use the body only and not the wicks. Okay. All right. So there you go. So this might be a good balance point here. Put your stop down below the order block and ride this back up. You got the nice wicks up here as well that we know we got to fill out. We take a look at Costco. Costco was one that I definitely have a watch. XLP has been performing very well. So if we take a look here on the daily and draw our nice trend line, we can see that Costco's kind of in a little bit of a wedge here, and I'm curious to see what it's going to do. Right now, when I take a look at this, I call this middle of the triangle. We're basically just stuck in the middle, chopping around before we're going to make a move in a direction. If we take a look at the weekly time frame for Costco, we had this you have your 2 down, your 2 up, your 2 down, your 2 up. And we created what's essentially, like, I would call it almost a dragonfly doji to the point. And if we want to play this going up for the week, our trigger is going to be 499.86. For calls, for puts, it's going to be 485.41. Going up for PT1 for your calls is going to be 505.46, followed by 511.42, followed by 517.99. And then really, if we want to break this trend line, we could get all the way up to 530.05, which is entirely possible for Costco. Like, Costco, when it wants to move, it definitely moves. Down to the downside, we got 484.29. And then really, like, we would look to retest this trend line and see maybe if we bounce back up, or if we broke below 466.80 is going to be that point. Now, Roku is the next one that I got. It's got my personal favorite strat setup is a 312 see you later setup. And this immediately, we have a target here is 66.97, as well as we saw some unusual options flow come through as well for the 90 calls for June. It's something to keep an eye on to see if they do add on to it or if they don't. If we hop over here to the weekly, you got your failed 2 up, and then you got your 2 up here as well. Let me make sure that I got this right. Yeah. So you got your 2 up and your 2 up, essentially a reversal. So our trigger on the week is going to be 66.97, followed by 67.89. And then if we really want to start pushing 70.95, we did create what looks like a sweep here for sell side liquidity. And this, you have nice equal lows here. So hopefully we ride this to the upside. We are in a bullish time frame right now for the market from a seasonality perspective. 76.62 would be my last target to the upside. If we want to play puts and reverse this and create that 2 down, which is entirely possible, 60.26 is going to be the immediate point to look at, followed by really 54.50, which is going to sweep this structure here. And if you break this structure, I would bet we would quickly revisit this level down here of $39 because there's not much standing in the way and you would have a nice PMG setup here. On the weekly, my bad. On next one is Disney to take a look at here. Disney is one that I have my eyes on closely because we do have what to me was a nice trend line break here on Disney, and we're reversing back up. We also created a point where we swept liquidity down here as well from all the way back here at 90.46. If we want to ride this to the upside, the immediate target that I see here is $102.70, and we got more to the upside. Take a look here on the weekly time frame. You got your 2 up. You broke the trend line on the weekly. Get the continuation up, 102.70. More obviously here, it's going to be 103.73 is going to be that weekly target. We have this gap as well that we got to take a look at. And if we want to get crazy here, we can look at 109.27. But Disney does tend to move very, very, very slow, kind of like a turtle. If we take a look here at the 3-month as well, we have this nice bottoming formation. Also looks like you swept, yeah, definitely swept sell side liquidity here at this level. So we're looking for that reversal back up. Now the one on my watch list that I don't think I'm gonna get is Tesla. Tesla is absolutely beautiful. I think honestly this is going to just absolutely take off, especially after deliveries announced this weekend where they did really well. There we go. Got a nice trend line break here. You see the huge move. We kind of slowly broke through it and then got that just kind of Hulk move afterwards. If you're a patterns person, this almost looks like an inverse head and shoulders. The target that I'm going to be looking at on the daily for Tesla is going to be all the way to 217.65. Weekly, our trigger for calls is going to be here at 207.79. First target really 217.65, which is very easy for Tesla to do in one day. And then we can get 237.40. But Tesla's going to be one I definitely have my eye on longer term. We got a lot of buyers definitely stepping in here. All right. Next one is Amazon. Amazon is interesting because it's seen a lot of flow come in as well as this nice trend line break that we have here. If we take a look here at the weekly time frame, we had a 2 up, pretty much almost like a candle where we got the trigger for the strat, but then we came back and created an indecision. We pretty much filled that upper body here, broke the trend line. So if we want to take a look at our call trigger, is going to be 103.49 on the week, followed by really, it's going to be kind of crazy to think about, but 104.87, and I'm reaching back here. After this is our earnings of 114, which is entirely possible for Amazon to get through. There's not really much standing in this way. It's honestly a giant volume imbalance when you take a look at it. The second last ticker I have here is Velo. Energy to me, I think is honestly going to start taking off here. I've already seen gas prices rise in the area. I wouldn't be surprised with everyone wanting to go out and do vacations and all that kind of stuff. With summertime, crude starts taking off. And you got this trend line break here with the power of 3, which is a really strong candle to say the least. On the weekly time frame, you had your 2 up continuation, that trend line break. You're going to play calls above 139.83, followed by looking at your first PT of 143.50. And then if we really want to fill this wick out here to 150.39 is going to be the point to take a look at. If we want to play puts, personally, I don't think puts are going to be viable for this, but 127.47 is going to be your trigger, followed by 125.76 is going to be your first PT. Your second one's going to be 120.85. And really, crude definitely does look nice. You got that full time frame continuity to the upside as well. The last ticker I got for my watch list is Oxy. Oxy is pretty much right here at a trend line. It's touched it once, twice, and now we're sitting here flirting with it on the daily. If we take a look at the weekly, we got a nice 212 reversal. Haven't broke the trend line on the weekly time frame. So our call trigger is going to be 62.98, followed by our first PT of 63.58. And then if we want to play the body, 65.01 and 66.99. If we look to the left, definitely looks like this is a structure level here on Oxy. Take a look at it. 54.62 is really the area that we've bounced off of a lot, and we're creating a higher low here as well. So if we get this trend line break to the upside, it's definitely going to start moving for us. If we want to entertain both sides here and play puts, your trigger's going to be 58.03, followed by a PT of 57.03 for PT1, and then PT2 is 55.51. But really, that's my watch list. I mean, I'm kind of all over the place this week with energy, XLP, XLC, and really tech. But that's mine. Zeus, you want to take it back?
Alrighty, so Volk just said look at PayPal. Let me give this a look. Okay, so PayPal does look nice on the weekly time frame. We do have the inside bar. Call trigger this week is at 76.03. And then the put trigger for PayPal, I'm not really interested in short side, to be honest, at all this week. But just to be optimistic, there is a gap to get filled on the downside. That does ultimately get filled. Let's look on a daily. At 70.64. So ultimately, for our long price targets, we do have a price target that's fairly close at 77.11. And then our second price target would be 79.27. And then our final price target, if we do manage to get that displacement move, we will end up ultimately pushing up to 88.63. I'm going to bring that to the top of my watch list. I do like PayPal. Good call out, Volk. Ultimately, Netflix, I do like a lot. If you look on the higher time frames, on a weekly time frame, it does look like we're likely to come take out this liquidity that we have up top here at 379.43. And then as well, we also have a couple of dark pool levels that I have. That was around this 363 level. So dark pools kind of attract price back to those levels. So that's something I'm looking for this week, and ultimately looking to take calls on Netflix above 345.84 to target that 363 dark pool level, and then ultimately potentially that 379.43 level. You can take puts on Netflix below 321. Ultimately, you would be ideally looking for it to take out sell side liquidity at 285.33. And mRNA, I like this one a lot. So mRNA, we did manage to get that down trend line break. And if you look on a higher time frame, we've gotten this trend line break last or 2 weeks ago, and we're kind of just consolidating. I've seen it set up 1,000 times. There's only two things that's going to happen. We're either going to come push back down, sweep liquidity, and get the hell out of here, or we're consolidating, and then we're going to ultimately get that explosive move this week or next week to ultimately get that price target of 166.86, and then as well to 177.37. And it would be nice if we potentially can fill this gap that we have all the way up here. What is this? At 189.35. So my call trigger for mRNA is 154.98, and then my put trigger is 145.36. But I would be cautious on the puts, and actually, if we were to get the downside, to actually trim at your PT1, and be careful as well. As you can see, we have this bullish order block that was created on the 6th. Yep. Does anybody have any specific tickers they want me to take a look at? Alrighty, so that wraps up my watch list. Ultimately, Netflix, mRNA, and oh, I did not comment on Microsoft. My apologies. So Microsoft, we do have this gap fill that we can see that I'm ultimately looking to target this week at 394.08 level. So looking to take calls above 289.27. Not really interested in the puts, but if puts were to trigger, you would take puts below 272.05. And as well, for the call side, ultimately looking to target this gap fill, and then from there, we'd look to take out buy sell liquidity at 312. And for the puts, we can see likely probably on a 2-week chart, this is actually an order block that we can see was created. So I wouldn't really look to really try to grab that sell side liquidity at 245, but ultimately target no more than 256.43 if we were to trigger the puts. With VOD, well, VOD, that's nothing to look to be in the money anytime soon, to be honest. If you can look at the ATR, we move very, very slow and steady. So it is a flow play that I seen, and as well, we can see we managed to sweep that sell side liquidity, and we're kind of just playing at that trend line. So let me delete this. And you can just look at the price action on the daily. That's why I got such a far expiration out. So right here. So this is the trend line that I'm watching on a daily for it. And then from here, even though we have 12, 11 and $12 strikes, regardless, you're not going to be in the money till all the way up here. And a move like this for a ticker like this, likely you're going to hold on for this for potentially a whole month. Oh, Serum does look nice as well. You also have that gap fill that I was watching. Only thing is it's kind of missed my entry.